Coming up right here on the Angle Show, we're talking about some big news surrounding WWE, including some returns for NXT tonight, and it's coming up right now. All right, y'all. So I want to kick things off with some LA Knight news. I personally thought this was some really cool stuff, but also confusing at the same time. So we all know LA Knight defeated The Miz at Payback. We know he won the Slim Jim Battle Royal at SummerSlam. We know he's kind of been getting a push. Triple H said it himself. Good things come to those who wait. Now WrestleVotes, a famous account on Twitter for dropping big news stories, has come out and said that the latest talent board, which is used internally, saw an update post Payback on September 3rd. Interesting news from the SmackDown side lists LA Knight as the top babyface. In addition, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits are now categorized as heels. So WWE views LA Knight internally as the number one babyface on SmackDown, and this is obviously great news. It's fantastic news for LA Knight, but does his booking actually represent what they have listed internally? And the reason why I ask this is, yes, LA Knight is on a roll. This guy is obviously getting reactions. He's winning matches. He's winning on pay-per-view, and that's fantastic. I always believed that you don't necessarily need to be a champion to be considered a top guy. However, with the situation of LA Knight, it's really directionless, in my opinion. I love what he's doing. I think, he's got something going with The Miz. It sounds like that might even continue a little bit further. But with LA Knight being on SmackDown, he's not competing for championships. Roman Reigns isn't defending the Universal Championship on a weekly basis. He's not even really defending it on a monthly basis. What does this actually mean for LA Knight? I don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever. I just think that's where the confusion is, because on Raw, you could kind of see where everybody has, their path. I think on SmackDown, it's a little bit different. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. I thought it was very interesting. Nonetheless, we're going to turn our attention to Zoe Stark. I personally like this news. I think this is a great positive story, especially when you consider just in general how WWE has been with NXT call-ups in the past. Sometimes they don't always work out. Fightful Select has come out and reported that internally WWE has had a lot of praise for Zoe Stark. They're very high on her talents and everything that she's been doing. They've kept their eye on her basically in NXT. And I got to agree. I think Zoe Stark has been introduced to the WWE universe in such a great positive way. And I'm glad that WWE views her as a big part of their future. However, we know there's a lot of individuals in WWE, whether it's Raw, SmackDown. I think when it comes to the main roster, the women's booking does need to improve. Okay. I think they've done a great job with Zoe Stark. I feel like even recently they've done a pretty good job with Shayna Baszler. But I think when you look at Raw and SmackDown, there is a clear issue where a lot of the major stories for women almost always include a championship belt. And it would be nice to see if there was a little bit more emphasis for storylines that don't include the belt. Now, you might be saying, well, Ango, Becky Lynch and Trish wasn't for the belt. And that is correct. But at the same time, too, those are just only two women's feuds. And I think the best example of this is if you watch NXT, there's a lot of feuds amongst the women in the division, and not all of them include the title belt, but there's more than two of them that happen on a weekly basis. And I would like to see that being repeated on Raw and SmackDown. I think Zoe Stark is somebody with a lot of potential, but I don't think the ceiling should just be, get a championship belt and that's it, right? I think for WWE, what they really need to do with Zoe Stark to make sure that she actually comes off as a star in the making, they need to put her in high-profile feuds. It sounds like there's something that could potentially be brewing between her and Shayna Baszler. It sounds like maybe even potentially Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus could be something that they run towards in the future. But I want to see more. I think there's a lot of talent there. I think a lot of these individuals are great. I think WWE just needs to be a little bit more consistent. That's really what it is. It's not that WWE lacks the ability to tell good stories with their women's division. It's just that they're not consistently doing it. It doesn't seem to be the highest priority, and that would be one type of thing where I would hope to see WWE make a change. Zoe Stark is great. She'll get better with promos. She'll get better with her presence on screen as more time and experience comes. But she went into NXT And trust me when I tell you guys this, she went into NXT and she looked good, but I never felt really over the moon for some of those segments that she was in. And it's really just the way NXT is. It really wasn't anything to do with her. And I kind of, I tried to envision what these people would be doing on the main roster. And I feel like so far WWE has hit a home run with Zoe Stark. I feel like they've done a really good job in the way that they present her. I think as time goes on, things will get better. But that actually leads us to our final story of today. Speaking of NXT, we're just hours away from the episode on USA Network. And I thought this was some really good stuff, basically just confirming what we've already known. We don't know anything officially from WWE, but PW Insider has reported that Authors of Pain are in Orlando, Florida ahead of tonight's show, and it's unclear whether or not they will be appearing on the show. Now, keep in mind, we've been talking about this since January, that AOP is back in the company. We talked about it last week that AOP, it was like more confirmation from Fightful that they've been signed with the company for a while. WWE didn't have creative plans. I don't think WWE's bringing in AOP to NXT to do absolutely nothing, especially when there's talks of them having Paul Ellering. Everything just seems to be in motion right now. I'm going to guess that AOP being on NXT tonight will more than likely happen, or some sort of video package or some sort of vignette or something, some little Easter egg at the very least that tells us that they're coming. Look, WWE NXT is great. They're really, really consistent with their booking across all of their divisions: women's division, mid-card division, North American Championship, Heritage Cup, the World Championship. They're on fire. If you're not watching NXT, please watch it. I think there's a lot of people making judgments based on shows that they're not actually watching. But right now I feel very comfortable talking about NXT being great. I think AOP is going to add a little bit more legitimacy to the tag team division. There's obviously a couple new tag teams in there. And then you got to look at the Creeds and what they're doing. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm super excited to see how they go about it with them returning. And then also, most importantly, Paul Ellering, man. Guy is great. He's fantastic. He added a lot to AOP when he was with them, and I feel like it's just going to get even better and better and better. So it's expected that AOP will be in Orlando for NXT. We'll see if it happens. I think WWE should stop wasting time being under contract for this long, not being on television. I think that's just a waste of money. And most importantly, I think for these two guys, man, the faster they could get acclimated back into NXT, it's going to be a lot easier for them to go up to the main roster as WWE presses the reset button on their tag team division. So with that being said, this is the Ango Show. I'm keeping you guys updated with all the big stories every single day, giving you guys my opinions, my feedback, my analysis. You don't have to agree, but you should definitely tell me what you think in the comment section down below.